Welcome back. If you've been following the whole series, we've been looking at different ways of setting up exchange rates in a spreadsheet. So we had a list of products and their prices in GBP, and we wanted to convert them into various different currencies. Now, I've gone through in the previous exercise how you can set a formula that would convert your currency from a value that was typed into this cell here. So if I knew, for example, that the exchange rate was $1.31 to the pound, I could just type that value in there and all these formulas would calculate automatically. But a stage on from that, I want to show you how to link into a website to get your exchange rates to update your spreadsheet automatically. And the website that I've chosen to use is the Bank of England site. But obviously, if you're in a different country, you would potentially use a different site would be more useful for you. I'm just going to start in a blank sheet here. And I'm going to pull in the data that I want from the Bank of England site. And then every time they update their site, it should update my values as soon as I'm connected. So I'm just going to go and find the relevant site. The one that I want is if you search for daily spot rates against sterling, assuming you're doing it from GBP values, you should end up with this Bank of England page. And this is the one where it's looking at GBP. It gives you a daily rate and it gives you a 52-week high and a 52-week low. So you might be wanting to look at the lowest value or the highest value. I think we're going to use this first column where it's looking at the daily value. And all I'm going to do is from this page, I'm going to highlight all of the URL running along the top here and just do a Control-C to copy it. And then I'm going to flip back into my Excel sheet and I'm going to go to data, get data, and there's an option that says from other sources, and then I want to choose an option from web. And then you just literally paste in the URL that you want to link to. I did a Control-V just to paste that in. And when I choose OK, it will go and try and connect me to the Bank of England site. Now, sometimes this can take a few minutes. Now, the hardest thing about connecting into an external website is trying to work out where the data is that you want to look for. You've got a table view and a web view. So you can see this is what that page looks like. And these are the tables that sit underneath that web page. And it's not necessarily terribly reliable. It depends which website you look at. So if you look at the Bank of England one, can you see there are various different options, but there is only one called table. Sometimes you'll find there's multiple tables. And this is the one that's got the currency name, the daily exchange rate, and the 52-week high, 52-week low that we were looking at. I'm just going to select that table and choose an option called Transform Data. And what that will do, hopefully, is take me into Power Query. And you can have a look at the data. Now, if there are things that are wrong with this data or columns that you don't need, you can delete those out at this point. So let's say I don't need these two last columns. I can just choose to remove columns from here. And then I'm only left with my currency name and the currency value. And then when I choose close and load, every time it refreshes, it will only bring in those two columns of data. And you should see it's picked up a little table automatically for me. The other thing it's done, which is quite clever of it, it's applied this table design. So you can have different colors, styles or whatever applied to the table design. And it's automatically given the table a name. It's called it table 1. But if you didn't like that name, you can rename that. Now, what I would like to do is I would like to make a lookup from my price list to this currency list so it brings across the values for me automatically. So I'm going to start with the US dollars column, let's say, and start in the cell where I want the US dollars value to go. I'm going to go formula, lookup and reference. I'm going to use something called XLOOKUP, which is a new lookup if you're used to using VLOOKUP. Personally, I prefer XLOOKUP. And what I want to look for is the word US dollar. Now, in the previous exercise, I used the abbreviations USD and EUR for euro and so on. I've deliberately not done that this time because the Bank of England don't. If you really wanted to, you could add an extra column to that table by doing another lookup to the lookup, if you see what I mean. But just to make my life simple, I'm going to use the exact same reference US dollar as the Bank of England do, so I know it's going to match perfectly. The lookup array that I want, if I go to the table 1 table, is anything in column A, saying look for the word US dollar in this column. And if I click on column A, now you can leave it like that and it will work, but what I want to be able to do is copy this formula across to all my different values, and I want it to stay looking in column A. So whilst you have your cursor in that A column, A colon A area, if you press the F4 key on your keyboard, it will put a dollar before each reference. And what that means is when I copy this across to different currencies, it won't become BB, CC, DD. It will always look at this currency value here, which is what I want. Now, the return array is saying, having found the US dollar in that first column, which column of your table contains the value that you want to bring back. So if I go back to my table, well, I've only got 2 columns now, and it's column B that I want. And the same thing is true. I don't want it to go skipping off into column C or column D or whatever when I copy it across. So I'm going to F4 it at this point. And what that should do is bring through the value of US dollar, which is said is 1.34. I'm just going to check that it's got the right one. So US dollar, it says it's 1.3373. We could, if we wanted to, do a little rounding, if we wanted to choose how to format that. In actual fact, it looks as if it's 1.34. It's not. If I make that a number rather than, I'll give it a number of decimal places, can you see it has come across as accurately as it came across from the Bank of England? It's just because it's formatted with this English United States that only has 2 decimal places that it looks as it's 1.34. If that's good enough for you, you can leave it that way. But what we did with our formula in the previous exercise is we rounded up in any case because we thought, oh, it's a price list, we may as well make it just rounding up to the nearest 2 decimal places. So we don't really need to round it here because it does round in this column in any case. And then what I should be able to do, because I've fixed column A and column B with those dollar signs, I should just be able to copy across with my little black cross to all the different currencies, and it should automatically fill them in, because this one is looking at the euro, which we called euro in the previous exercise. This one is looking at yen, that we called JPY in the previous exercise, and so on. And I'm just going to see if it's clever enough, if I can think of another currency that I have not used. Let's go Hong Kong dollars. So I'm just going to copy the text because I want the text to be absolutely identical. And when I copy the formula across, does it pick up Hong Kong dollars? £10.48 it says, or $10.48, sorry. Yes, it does. So that's working swimmingly. Now this one, because we didn't do this in previous exercise, I'm assuming Hong Kong dollars are HKD, are they? What I'm going to do is I'm going to name this cell HKD by typing in this little box, pressing enter, and then I can do my formula and say British pounds multiplied by HKD. And if I copy that down, it should have given me all my prices in Hong Kong dollars. One thing I wanted to mention is the refresh option. If the Bank of England have updated the rates and you want to make sure that you've got the latest rates in your spreadsheet, you just need to go to the data tab and there's a refresh all option, and that will go and look and see if there's any new information. Or you can choose your right mouse over your table on the right hand side here, and there's a refresh option from there as well. And can you see it's loading the data and it's updated for me? There is an option under connection properties, if you want to make it refresh every hour, you could tick that one. You can say, I only want to refresh it when I'm opening the file again. So every morning when you open your spreadsheet, it will go and check for any new data, etc. I'm going to leave mine to, I'll refresh it when I want to open it, but you could make yours happen automatically if you wanted to. That's all I'm going to show you in terms of doing this in Excel, but you can do a very similar thing in Power BI, and it's helpful to have it in Power BI because there's much more advanced reporting options in Power BI, so we can do some really nice graphics and charts and so on. Come back for the next video and I'll show you how to do this in Power BI.